She was supposed to be the woman in the shadows, the quiet wife, the corporate accessory with a last name that opened doors. But the moment her husband stood on that stage and called another woman his lawful wife, something inside Beatrice Hayes shifted, not into rage, not into tears, into clarity. Because in that ballroom, with the spotlights catching the champagne bubbles and the cameras broadcasting live to the boardroom of the most powerful family in New York, Beatrice realized something. She had spent 3 years being careful, being patient, being good, and not once had it protected her. So she stopped being careful. She walked up to the microphone. She put her father on speaker. She switched the presentation screen from her husband's company's achievements to $100 million in financial records, and watched his empire begin to crack in real time. This story begins with public humiliation, but it doesn't end there. It ends with a daughter inheriting her family's legacy, facing down corporate enemies, and leading with something rare in the world of power and money: integrity. Because the most important thing this story teaches us is this: you can lose a marriage, a title, even your sense of safety, and still rise. Not despite the pain, but because of it. If this is the kind of story that speaks to you, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Drop a comment. I want to know what part of this hit you the hardest. And share it, because someone out there needs to hear that it's never too late to reclaim your story. This content was manually researched, constructed, and edited by our team to bring you meaningful stories and real lessons.
I was watching it live, and my blood ran cold. I heard him say, "The woman beside me is my lawful wife," and it felt like a public execution of my best friend's heart. I could see Bea on the screen, just standing there with so much grace while the world watched her humiliation. That strength she has, it was the only thing holding her together. He called it a contract, but all I saw was the deepest betrayal, and the smirk on that other woman's face. It was just sickening. But my Bea, she doesn't break. A domestic partnership. God, what a pathetic, cowardly way to try and ruin her. Using her own family's power against her, he had no idea the mistake he'd just made. And then he said the girl was pregnant. The air just left my lungs. This wasn't just cheating. This was him trying to burn her entire life to the ground. In that moment, I hated him more than I've ever hated anyone. That woman looked right at the camera, hoping Bea was watching. Oh, we were watching, all right. We saw every lie, and I knew her dad was already making calls to fix this nightmare. And then I saw Bea start walking toward the stage. My heart was in my throat. She wasn't falling apart. She was breathtakingly strong. That's my girl. She was going to fight. Her voice, when she asked, "Is everything you just said true?" was so clear, so sharp. He wanted to shame her quietly, but she was dragging his disgusting secret into the light for everyone to see. He tried to shut her down, calling her Bea, like he still had any right. But I saw her smile, and it was a promise of the hell that was about to break loose on him. I never ever trusted him. I always saw the little digs, the way he'd subtly dismiss her. I knew he was a coward. She deserved so much more than him. I was already dialing her number. I just wanted her to see my name and remember she wasn't alone. She had people who loved her ready to go to war for her. Then I heard her father's voice booming over the speaker. Everyone in that room, everyone watching, was about to find out who that man had really betrayed. "Announce the divorce," her dad said. "Let Apex be bankrupt by morning." It was the sound of his entire world crumbling, and honestly, it was exactly what he deserved. I watched his face go completely pale. He whispered her name, and then he moved toward her, but it was too late. Her dad had just put up a wall of fire between them. When she said, "Sleeping with us both?" her voice was pure ice. She was turning all that pain into power, right there in front of everyone. He actually lunged for her microphone, like a cornered animal. But she was faster. She was smarter. She was my friend, and she had taken back control. I didn't know I'd become the other woman. Oh my God, it was brilliant. In one sentence, she flipped the entire script, making herself the victim of his lies and that other woman his pathetic partner in crime. I was so proud I could have burst. Hearing him beg was just pathetic. Bea's laugh wasn't happy. It was the sound of justice finally being served. He made his bed when he decided to humiliate her. Then she brought up the $100 million, his seed money, her family's money. It was the debt that was about to crush him. "I'm the special auditor. Dad never trusted you." The truth came out, so simple and so devastating. Her dad always had a backup plan to protect his little girl. That mistress actually ran up there, talking about love. B just looked at her, so cold and precise. "You're expecting a child, correct?" She wasn't even angry, just done. "Then you'll soon understand what a father will do when someone hurts his child." She said it for her dad. She delivered his promise. You could see the fear on that woman's face. The phone started going off all over the room. Her dad's team works fast. Those were the sounds of his company dying. I just watched his face. He was completely and utterly ruined. I saw her slide the ring off her finger, place it on the podium, and just walk away. "You and I are nothing." She was free, and it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. He screamed her name, but she never looked back. She didn't have to. Her future was already waiting. His was just a pile of ashes. I knew her car was waiting, a safe place to take her away from all this. He was left standing alone in the disaster he created. He was such a fraud, just a small man pretending to be powerful. And B, the best thing that ever happened to him, was gone forever. The news alerts started popping up, stocks crashing. That was her dad's work. A clear message. And I knew that idiot wasn't thinking about his mistress. He was thinking about the queen he'd just lost. He never built a thing. He just managed the empire her family let him touch. B wasn't stupid. She was just manipulated by a master liar. He can call and text all he wants now. It won't matter. There's no coming back from this. Some betrayals are absolute. I knew B was home, safe where he could never touch her again. And that other woman? She was stuck in a rented room with the man who had just lost everything. They chose each other. He was the villain on a world stage, and she was right there with him. I hope they enjoy their 15 minutes of shame. It was more than the cheating. Her dad found all the financial dirt, too. The affair was just the final insult that gave him the reason to burn it all down. Now that girl's name will forever be linked to his downfall. She wanted to be a part of his life. Well, she got her wish. He did all of this for his own pathetic ego. He used B, and he used that pregnant girl, like they were just pawns in his game. It's the most disgusting part of all. This was never a fair fight. It was a controlled demolition. He pushed my friend too far, and her dad handed her the dynamite. The media will label her the foolish mistress. She'll just be a side note in the story of his epic failure and my friend's incredible strength. I saw the photos later. Him smiling right before his life ended, and her, my beautiful B, walking away from the fire like a queen. He was still wearing the ring she gave him when it all fell apart, a constant reminder of everything he threw away for nothing. Her family is erasing him. From the companies, from their history, they have long memories. His future is just gone. He wasn't with B that night. He'll never be with her again. He was just scrambling alone, finally understanding the kind of power he was stupid enough to challenge. He deserves to look like a ghost. Her dad took everything, his company, his reputation, and my friend, the only real thing in his life. There's no negotiating this. There's no settlement. There's just the consequence, and he's going to be living in it for a very long time. Whatever money he thinks he hid away is a joke. Her family will find every last cent. He won't get a soft landing. He's going to feel the crash. All his accounts are frozen because none of that money was ever really his. It was all built on her family's name. She was the last to know because she was the one he was using the most. His entire life was one big, calculated lie. My best friend was just a chapter he was willing to tear out and throw away. My phone was quiet. I can only imagine his was screaming as his whole world finally came crashing down on him. I saw all the posts calling her a victim. It made my blood boil. He's the one who forced that horrible label on her. A press conference. My stomach just sank. She shouldn't have to do this, but I knew she would. That's the woman she is. Then I saw her. So composed. So perfect. That white dress wasn't asking for pity, it was her battle armor. A queen, not a casualty. Her voice was like steel, calm, steady, and sharp. Not a heartbroken wife, but a CEO fighting a hostile takeover. A shocking and humiliating surprise. The dignity in those words just made his betrayal feel so much smaller, so much more pathetic. He heard corporate jargon. I heard her vow to him and to everyone, "You will not break me. This is over now." The silence that followed was deafening. The world watched her carry all that pain. She wasn't on trial, she was the judge. He cast her as the grieving wife, and she played it magnificently. She rewrote his story and showed them what strength really is. I heard he'd planted a reporter there to spin his lies. I just held my breath, praying it wouldn't shatter her completely. Then she said the name, Lucy. Hearing it from my friend's lips felt like a punch to the gut. "It began with love," she said, "at least for me." In that second, his whole disgusting plan crumbled to dust. This was her stage now, and she was writing the ending. Nexus Tech. $50 million. My blood ran cold. This was never just about cheating. This was a calculated attack on her. Suddenly, the story wasn't about his affair. It was about a $50 million crime. She gave them a much bigger monster to hate. The pregnancy. She was brilliant. She didn't call it fake, she just planted the seed of doubt. That kind of poison sticks. I saw her give a tiny nod to the reporter, and it all clicked. This wasn't a breakdown. This was a hunt. My girl was on the offensive. Her and that reporter, of course. They weren't exposing a cheater, they were dismantling a criminal. That girl was just his accomplice. Trade secrets. A felony. Oh my God. This wasn't a divorce, it was a federal case, and that other woman was right in the middle of it. His panicked face flashed on the screen. The powerful man was gone. All I saw was a pathetic, cornered little boy. He looked completely unhinged. She was showing the world the monster she had been living with, and his mistress was made of the same stuff. She gave him 5 minutes. I could just picture her, cool as ice while he fell apart. The fight was already over. I heard he actually tried to use that woman as his shield. A coward's move, blaming his affair for his crimes, so transparently pathetic. His threats about the company must have sounded so empty. She held every single card. He was already in checkmate. They said my friend actually laughed at him. I wish I could have heard it. That was the sound of her chains finally breaking. She knew absolutely everything. Nexus, his other life. Her truth was an arsenal, and it was more powerful than any of his lies. He was caught, and he took that woman down with him. A stain on my friend's life that was finally being scrubbed clean. The FBI, a full task force. It was really over. The man who broke my best friend's heart was going to prison. Justice was coming. When I saw them lead him away on the news, I knew I had to go to her. The battle was over, but the healing was just getting started. The stolen proposal was the new headline. He didn't just break her heart, he stole her family's legacy for someone else. I could feel her righteous anger from across the city. She wasn't just stopping with him, she was going to burn all the rot out. He built his whole world on her trust. It was just so cruel that she had to be the one to tear that monument of lies down. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Him, still trying to reach her. He never got it. To her, he was already gone. He was just a ghost now. And the other woman? She was less than that. A footnote in his spectacular, well-deserved fall from grace. It came out she'd been getting ready for months. The affair didn't break her. It was just the last straw that unleashed the warrior inside. He thought he was a genius with his secret accounts. The fool never once suspected my friend was always 10 steps ahead. This wasn't a fight, it was a purge. He decided to get in bed with snakes, so she simply set the entire field on fire. Watching him completely unravel on TV was a dark kind of justice. My girl Beatrice wasn't crying. She was at war. The amount of money was insane. 100 million, then 60. He thought he was losing investments. He had no idea it was her wrath. I heard later even his lawyers were grilling him about her. The idiot was blaming a pawn for the queen's brilliant strategy. He kept talking about some guy, Julian, someone he trusted. B told me later that Julian was the real weapon she used against him. The FBI called and he hoped it was her offering a deal. He never really knew the woman he married. She offers justice, never mercy. It was only later we learned the awful truth. The baby was fake. The affair, a setup. My friend was caught between two absolute monsters. He believed the fake sonogram pictures because he wanted to. He needed a noble excuse to justify his betrayal. He was a willing idiot. That one lie was the engine for his entire collapse. He was just an actor in a play, the only one who didn't know his lines. The phone rang and my world just fell away. It was her voice impossibly calm, telling me that girl was right there, in his office. A cheap, cruel little show meant to shatter her. I watched it all unfold with her, my hand gripping hers. She walked in there with so much grace like a queen, and I saw him, her husband, scramble toward her like a boy who'd lit a match and burned the whole house down. His own security chief was a wreck. It was pathetic, really. The guy was terrified she could just walk in, having no clue her family practically owned the ground beneath his feet. I'd never seen him look truly scared before, not for her, but for himself. He saw his little empire cracking, completely blind to the fact that she'd always held the keys. Then that car pulled up. Julian Hayes. I watched her husband's mind just short-circuit, trying to connect the dots between his new partner and their family's oldest enemy. "He's dirty," she told me, he whispered, like a kid just figuring it out way too late. He thought he was making moves, but he was just a pawn in a game he didn't even know he was playing. Then I saw that girl's face next to Hayes, and him. He looked just the same. A wolf in a suit. A cold, quiet anger settled deep in my bones, the kind you feel when someone hurts your person. "His name is Julian Hayes," someone said. That name. It's been a curse in her family for ages. I watched the blood drain from her husband's face. He finally got it. He hadn't just cheated on my best friend. He had gift-wrapped her and handed her over to the one man whose family had tried to ruin hers for decades. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was war. Forget shame. This was treason, a poison he'd poured right into the heart of everything she loved. And still, he ran to her, drawn to the beautiful thing he had just destroyed. Seeing him walk through his own company was like watching a dead man walking. He had to see the judgment in her eyes for himself. A dark, tiny part of me understood why. He shoved his way through the reporters, seeing nothing but her. The whole world had shrunk to the door of her conference room. I stayed on the line, my heart pounding. I wouldn't let her face this alone. He said his own name like it meant something, a ghost haunting the kingdom he'd just lost. He built it, sure, but now it belonged to the man who broke him. It was a cold, satisfying thought. When the elevator doors opened, Hayes's men were waiting. I could hear her voice through the phone, so clear and steady. The poor fool was walking into a room with his wife and his enemy, who were now on the same side. He threw the door open. The way she looked at him, it wasn't anger. It was this cold, crushing pity that was so much worse. His protest was just the whimper of a man who was already broken. "I thought I should meet your new partner," she said, her voice like glass. Her gaze slid right past him, past the girl, and landed on Eleanor. And in that 1 second, I watched my best friend's husband completely shatter. Eleanor, her friend from childhood. That was the one wound I knew he could never inflict. He finally understood he hadn't just lost his company. He'd lost a war he never even saw coming. He just stumbled into the room, a complete ruin. The tension was suffocating, and my friend stood right in the middle of it all, in total control. "Introduce us," she commanded, her voice like steel. "This is Mr. Reed," he choked out, holding on to that pathetic lie. "Ellie is his assistant." He had burned his whole life down for a room full of people who had been playing him all along. "Julian Hayes," my friend said, just cutting through all the lies. "Why don't we use our real names?" I swear I saw the light go out in that other girl's eyes. She wasn't the other woman. She was just the weapon. When the girl tried some weak denial, my friend just sliced her down. Is faking a pregnancy nonsense too? The silence after that was deafening. My God, she knew everything. It was over. He was still trying to defend it, pleading that the baby was his. The laugh that ripped out of her was sharp and had zero mercy. She was going to tear down every single lie he'd built. I watched Hayes circle her like the snake he was. "You're tougher than your father gave you credit for," he said, daring to mention her dad. My blood boiled. He was a ghost from their past, and he was trying to haunt her. My own hands were clenched so tight they hurt, but she didn't flinch. "You're all going to jail." She said it with such certainty, it felt like a fact. In her anger, she was absolutely magnificent. But Hayes had one more disgusting trick. I watched someone hand her a file. I saw her face go pale, and a primal fear shot through me for her. It was photos of her mother. "How?" she whispered. They were using her deepest, most painful wound against her. Hayes's smile was just evil. "I'm an old friend," he said. He was blackmailing her, using the memory of her own mother to try and break her spirit. My rage was so cold and deep, I watched her knuckles turn white. "A fair trade," he called it. And for a second, I saw that other girl, that homewrecker, actually smile, like a vulture enjoying the sight of a kill. And then, my beautiful, brilliant friend laughed. It was the sound of a window shattering. I held my breath. That little girl thought she'd won. She had no idea she was standing at ground zero. "Live stream to my legal team," my friend announced, and the trap snapped shut. "The police are on their way." The pride that washed over me was overwhelming. That's my girl. Then it was just chaos. Flashing lights, shouting. Her husband was a babbling mess. The whole ugly life they tried to build on my friend's pain was turning to dust right in front of them. Hayes looked at her, and I swear I saw a flicker of respect in his dead eyes. But his last words to the others were a threat. He was making it clear this wasn't over. Her husband screamed at her, a coward blaming his victim until the very end. The girl finally cracked, sobbing for herself. Two selfish, worthless people who deserved each other. My friend walked out of that room with her head held so high, she didn't even glance back at the wreckage she'd left behind. She was already moving on. I was sitting right next to her when the final call came through. He'd lost everything. The thought of him in some fancy car with that cheap girl meant nothing. They were already ghosts to us. The game has just begun. Hayes's words hung in the air between us. Her husband was finished, but the real enemy was still out there. This fight was far from over, and we would be ready for him. She told me later he picked up their wedding photo, his face all twisted up in grief, mourning the woman he himself had tried to annihilate. It was the perfect, lonely hell for him. He mumbled something about her family, about a world he was only ever visiting. He never got it. You can't just buy your way into a legacy like hers. You have to be worthy. So let him drink. Let him drown in that golden cage with the little tramp he chose. He hammered every single bar of that prison himself. He bet everything on a snake, and then acted surprised when he got bitten. He mistook his own recklessness for strength, and my friend was the one who paid for his fantasy. Every single call he got about that disaster was a bill coming due for his own choices. He tied his wagon to a monster, and now he was just ash. He looked right through that girl, searching for the wife he'd thrown away. You don't get mad at the hammer. You mourn the beautiful thing you chose to smash with it. He finally figured it out. Julian had been a friend once. This was a betrayal generations in the making. That girl was just a pawn, a footnote in a very old, very painful story. His self-pity is worthless. He brought a monster back into her life, and he used that girl as the key to do it. There's no coming back from that. Not ever. When the news said Hayes was out on bail, I looked at her. Her face was calm. Her husband was broken, but Julian Hayes was the real war, and we were just getting started. When the news called him untouchable, my stomach dropped. It meant the nightmare wasn't over for her, not even close. I watched the man she loved on screen, just a hollowed-out man. He was failing her. In this brutal world, weakness is blood in the water, and he was bleeding out for all to see. He mumbled about some last-ditch plan. I watched her listen, her beautiful face becoming a perfect stone mask. His fight was over. Hers was just starting. I'd heard them whispering about some big prize, but the only thing I cared about was my friend and the life they were actively trying to steal from her. He was meant to be her shield. Instead, he just stared at her photos like a ghost, haunted by the life he'd thrown away. The man was a disease. When I learned that monster Julian was pulling the strings, I felt sick. And Alex, her husband, was taking his orders, feeding him details about my friend's life. Knowing he gave away her secrets, the very pieces of her soul she trusted him to protect, was a betrayal that hurt me to my bones. He sold her safety for his own skin. I saw him once staring at their wedding photo, whispering for help. I wanted to light it on fire. How dare he prey to the woman he was destroying? Then it clicked. Julian didn't just own him. He'd bought the other woman first. She wasn't a mistress. She was a spy from day one. A shell company's name popped up, and I started pulling at the thread. This was never just an affair. It was a long-planned ambush, aimed right at my girl. The lie about a baby was the most vicious part. A fake pregnancy to shield his cowardice and to use as a weapon against her. It was pure evil. He knew it was a lie. I could see it in his vacant eyes. But admitting it meant admitting he'd burned his world down for nothing. So he let her suffer the lie. Julian's money kept paying for the whole sick performance, paying to tear down her reputation, and he just stood there and let it happen. I saw pictures of that woman trying so hard to copy my friend's elegance. Beatrice carries her name with such dignity. That woman is just a pathetic shadow. For 3 years, he convinced her he was a good man, that nobody understood him. I see it now. He never wanted to be understood, just excused. He built his secret life in the dark with late-night calls and fake emergencies. A man like that isn't building a new life. He's just digging another grave. He told her his company was a disaster hidden behind a smile. He burdened her with his shame, and my friend, with her incredible heart, thought it was an act of trust. He came to her a broken man, and she, my strong girl, offered him a lifeline. She offered to help fix his mess. He took that kindness and stabbed her with it. The price was her public humiliation. I watched him weigh his life against hers, and I saw the awful truth. He was ready to sacrifice her to save himself. Then he started signing over her company's shares, 12%. This wasn't business. They were building a cage around her, bar by painful bar. They were using her own playbook to steal her company. It was her own brilliant strategy, turned into a weapon against her. He was stealing her mind. I knew she would be in her office, being strong, working through the pain. He used to admire that resilience. Now it was just the last thing they needed to break. Then we heard about the break-in at her mom's clinic. That was Julian, a vile threat to terrorize her family. This was no longer business. This was war. They were trying to corner her, to make her feel totally alone, with her own husband leading the charge. He was destroying his own name just to ruin hers. I knew Julian's hatred for her family was an old poison. I finally saw her husband for what he was, a pawn in a feud that started long before he was born. It's an old story. A weak man full of resentment became the perfect weapon for a hateful one. He didn't just cheat on her, he armed her worst enemy. Julian was obsessed. My friend was everything he could never be. And the man who swore to protect her had become the weapon pointed at her heart. That late-night text about a surprise. A cold knot of fury tightened in my gut. Julian was a predator, and he was playing with her. Calling her his niece in that message was so sick. A twisted claim of family to the person he was trying to ruin. This was about public shaming, plain and simple. The wall of cameras felt like a firing squad. It wasn't a meeting, it was a public execution, and the man she married was the one who'd sold the tickets. And then she arrived. She stepped out of that car, so graceful, so untouchable. A queen. The whole world held its breath. She wasn't broken. She was glorious. "Are you divorcing him?" a reporter screamed. She just gave a tiny, dignified smile and walked on, never even glancing at those two traitors. Her silence was a roar. We were inside when Julian showed up, circling like a shark. I saw someone pass her a note, a warning. I gripped my purse, my knuckles white with anger. The whole room felt like a stage for her humiliation. Her team stood around her like a shield. He sat in the front row, a brittle, fake smile on his face. I watched that woman place a hand on her stomach, loudly whispering about a baby. I saw the blow land, just a flicker of pain in my friend's eyes. And then I saw her rise above it. Her assistant handed her a flash drive, and my gut screamed that something was coming. This wasn't just a presentation, this was a fight, her against him. He went up first, wearing a mask of confidence, but I saw the fraud underneath. The presentation was brilliant because it was hers. He just put his name on her genius. I saw the judges giving each other looks. One of them frowned. They knew. My stomach twisted with dread, knowing the humiliation was part of their plan. Then came the question I was dreading. This is very similar to a haze paper. I held my breath. He was so smooth, that snake. A common direction, he purred. The lie was breathtaking. Then it was her turn. She stood up and gave them a real smile. Today. Her voice was like a bell. I'm not here to present a plan. I'm presenting the future. A direct hit. She clicked to the first slide. You may see a few surface similarities, she said, her voice like ice, but we threw those plans out 3 months ago. The room erupted in whispers. She'd just made him obsolete. My own jaw dropped. My friend was playing chess on a whole other level. Her vision was so brilliant it made his stolen pitch look like a child's crayon drawing. Then, the knockout. We've also partnered with MIT, she said, on a patent-pending AI. It was her secret weapon, not just a win, a total annihilation. I felt my heart swell with pride. The applause was deafening, and every clap felt like a slap in his face. The questions were her victory lap. But then the demo started, and I knew this was their last dirty trick. The city lit up on screen, perfect for a full minute. Then I saw her tech guy tense up. Her voice never wavered, but I saw her jaw set. His hands were shaking. You got this, honey, I prayed. I was watching when the feed cut out. We all held our breath. When it came back, it wasn't a presentation. It was a medical file. And it was her mother's, Julian. The absolute cruelty of it was breathtaking. The diagnosis was right there. Major depressive disorder. Her mom's private pain, weaponized. I could practically feel the flashbulbs through the screen. And there was Alex, her husband, on his feet, with the most perfectly rehearsed look of shock on his face. "B, what is this?" he actually yelled, like some kind of hero. The sound of his fake worry made me sick. I saw Julian's ghost of a smile. Then my girl spoke, her voice trembling but unbreakable. "We are the victims of a malicious cyber attack." She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. He didn't just lose a deal, he lost her. The attack on his company was done. The attack on her soul had just been broadcast to the world. But this was really about his other life, the secret one that had already poisoned her home. He'd been confiding in another woman, building a whole world out of his lies. That was the real poison. I can still feel the suffocating silence in her house the night she finally found out. That hollow space. He was trying to get rid of the other woman, but my best friend was the one left standing in the rubble of his lies. I can just hear him calling it a mistake to her, that pathetic little word he used to excuse the demolition of her heart. He painted himself as the victim, but I knew the truth. He was just a coward, terrified of losing his comfortable life. He wasn't some romantic lead in a tragedy, just a weak man who took everything and gave nothing back. He even talked to that woman about their daughter, my sweet Lily, her little girl dragged into his filth. I remember all his little complaints about their marriage. They weren't just frustrations. He was building his case to cheat. It meant nothing, is what he probably told B, days after telling the other woman he was in love with her. It all started with a lie he fed another woman, a lie that ultimately shattered my best friend's world. That affair wasn't a mistake. It was a conspiracy. Every secret message was another crack in B's heart. I will never forget her call. The moment she found the texts on his phone, her entire world broken on a tiny screen. Who is she? I can still hear the whisper that changed everything. The question that tore her life apart. The thought that another woman might see my friend's agony as some kind of victory is just a profound, disgusting insult. He left B to live in the ruins of the life they built, while he hid from what he'd done. To tell her it was meaningless was the cruelest blow. It was his way of saying her pain didn't count. The other woman was just a symptom, an easy way for him to feel good about himself without actually being a better person. Lily is only 7. His daughter is the one who will carry the heaviest burden of his weakness. He didn't just break a promise, he torched a family. Her family. That affair wasn't about love. It was a sign of a deep rot in his own soul. He traded a lifetime of shared memories for a cheap thrill. He threw away a life. I can just imagine my friend asking him if any part of their life had been real. The thought of that question guts me. He was a husband, a father. He betrayed everything those words are supposed to mean. He never actually wanted to leave her. He just wanted a permission slip to be a liar. But now she gets to make a choice, to cut out the rot and heal. My job is just to hold her hand while she does. Let him be haunted by what he did. I will be the rock for my friend while she builds something new. This was never really about another woman. It was about one man's endless, selfish hunger to destroy everything good in his life. My B is a mother, an artist, a survivor. That other woman is already ancient history. The greatest lie anyone ever tells is that a secret betrayal won't cause any harm. It's always a poison. He might be the villain who started this, but she is the hero who will finish it. And her ending will be magnificent. Then her name, Beatrix, flashed on the screen, and my world just stopped. My friend. And he, the man who was supposed to protect her, was watching. But his first thought was for himself. The news is calling it a tragedy. It's a desecration. The safe life she deserved just shattered for everyone to gawk at. It's a violation. They keep talking about the man who has her, but all I see are two villains, the monster with the weapon and the coward whose betrayals left her heart defenseless. When I saw the absolute terror on her face, this cold, quiet rage started burning inside me. Nothing else in the world mattered except getting her back. This isn't just about anger or jealousy anymore, it's primal. My best friend is in danger. She's my family, and I will burn down anyone who hurts her. I used to tell myself he was just weak, just making stupid choices. What a lie, I told myself. He wasn't making mistakes. He was systematically tearing down the life she trusted him to build with her. He built a fantasy with someone else. But every lie he told her was a brick he stole from the home he was supposed to be building with my friend. And now I'm watching it all collapse on top of her. There is no coming back from this for him. He will live with this shame forever. My only purpose now is to make sure she has a future at all. A warehouse. Her father's name, Franklin, spoken by the reporter, and then hers, Beatrix. Hearing her name like that, in this nightmare, felt like a physical blow. She is not a headline. This madman's threat is a gunshot, loud and terrifying. Her husband's betrayal was a quiet cancer, killing her slowly from the inside. Both are fatal to the life she knew. Using her own private letters about her mother against her, that's a level of evil I can't comprehend. My entire body aches with fury for her. And then I saw her friend's name on the screen. They took her too. He's not just attacking her, he's trying to burn down her entire beautiful world. My sadness hardened into resolve. I hear them call her a pawn, and it makes me sick. She was never a pawn. She was his queen, the one he was supposed to protect. And he just abandoned her on the board. She was on her way to a charity dinner, a night he was supposed to share with her. The thought of that ordinary evening turning into this nightmare is what hurts the most. He was absent from her life long before tonight. The news said she fought back, and for a second, a wave of pride cut through my fear. That's my girl. His story about her being fragile was always just an excuse for his own cowardice. Some corporate revenge plot from 5 years ago? I don't care about the reason. All that matters is my friend, my sister, caught in the crossfire of his pathetic games. The image of that gun to her head is seared into my mind. I couldn't breathe, and in that moment I made a silent promise. We are coming for you. We will get you home. I heard the word explosives, enough to bring down the building. His affair was meant to slowly destroy her spirit. This is different. This is total annihilation. Her father is racing to get to her, a force of nature. And her husband? He's a ghost, a spectator watching from the sidelines while real love is on the way. To hear that monster taunt her about family is a bitter joke. Her husband gave up his place in our family long ago. Her real family is the one on the way to save her. I heard that for a moment. Even the gunmen lowered their weapons. That's her effect on people. She has a grace and a strength that can command respect from even monsters. Then she got the gun. She actually turned the tables on them. The pride I felt was overwhelming. She has never waited for a hero. She has always been her own. The blast shook the ground and my mind went completely blank. There was only one thought left in the universe. Find her. Get her out of the fire. When that crane fell, her dad just moved. He didn't think. He just became a shield. To see that pure, selfless love in action, it was everything. In the middle of all that chaos, she picked up the gun and saved her own father. They aren't just father and daughter. They're a unit, true survivors. He told me she knelt beside him, completely calm while the world burned around them. She was his anchor, my brave, incredible friend. Then that animal came at her with an iron bar. It was so ugly, so brutal. But really, it was no different from the 1,000 quiet betrayals from her husband. Both were meant to destroy her. Finally, it was over. She was safe, and everyone who was supposed to be there for her was. Her dad, her team, me. His absence was the final damning word on who he is. Her father gave her the company. It's not a gift, it's her birthright. A kingdom she has more than proven she can rule. He chose nothing, so she inherits everything. I saw her standing in the rubble, and she wasn't a victim. She was a queen surveying the ruins of her old life, ready to build a new one. I have never felt such boundless pride. One of them gets life in prison. For her ex, the sentence is quieter, but just as permanent. He has to live the rest of his life without her. I watched her friend Laura hold her, and I knew she was safe. She is surrounded by real love now. This is the family that will help her heal. Her dad's surgery was a success, thank God. It feels like we are all piecing our world back together, but it will be stronger now, forged in fire with no place for cowards. When I look at her, I don't see someone who survived. I see a victor. I see the absolute best of her mother in her. I see the woman I always knew she was. Looking at old family photos now just feels sad. A life built on a complete lie. We're making new memories now. Our family is smaller, but it's finally real. So I heard he woke up and asked for her. Of course he did. That's a question you should have asked 5 years ago. You don't get to ask for the person you threw away. He dared to call it love, but it was just a cover for his weakness. She was never a choice he made. She was the standard he completely failed to meet. The affair was never a separate issue. It was the first battle in his war to destroy her. That woman wasn't a casualty. She was his weapon of choice. Of course she is running things now. That power was always inside her. He called her fragile because he was terrified of her strength. Now the whole world can see it. He's in a prison made of concrete. The life she is building for herself now is her freedom, a world finally cleansed of his weakness and his lies. When she finally saw the other woman, she did it with a quiet dignity that was more powerful than any rage could ever be. Her composure was its own judgment. "You had a choice," is all she said to her. 4 words that completely dismantled a year of pathetic excuses. That isn't weakness. That is absolute power. I heard the woman cried and claimed she was in love. Please. Her idea of love is a wrecking ball. My friend knows love is what builds and protects you. Love isn't a weapon, my friend said, and ended the conversation. She truly understands the difference between devotion and destruction. I hear they're calling her the business queen now, and I just smile. He thought he could steal her crown, but all he did was clear her path straight to the throne. Her success is the only form of justice that matters. Every victory she achieves is built on the ruins of the life he tried to burn down. I just watch her soar. I see her walk into her family's building, and the people who once answered to him now see a true leader. His name is just a ghost in those halls. He really thought he broke her, but he only revealed the warrior she had inside. His biggest mistake was thinking the wife he married was all she would ever be. I think of the future he promised her, the one he was secretly building with another woman. He didn't just betray her, he tried to burn her entire world down. She's now in the boardroom he lusted after, in the chair he schemed for. They finally see her for who she is, and she will be greater than he ever dreamed. There's a new steel in her eyes that he put there. He chiseled away the wife and left the CEO. He started the fire, and she walked out of it reborn. They underestimated her just like he always did. What a fatal mistake. She leads with integrity, something he and that other woman will never understand. It's her company now. He saw her power as a threat to his own pathetic ego, and now the results speak for themselves. She is winning the war he started. That New York project they dreamed of together is now just another one of his failures she has to fix, another beautiful memory he managed to poison. His fortune is gone and his name is a disgrace. While my best friend rebuilds an empire, his accomplice is learning the true cost of her choices. They gave her just 3 months to fix his catastrophe. They don't know my friend. The impossible is where she works best. People called her plan aggressive. They don't get it. She gave him her whole world. He chose nothing and took that girl with him. She was so ready for this. While he was whispering his pathetic lies, she was already preparing for the war he started. Do I think she wastes a second thinking about that other woman? No. She's just a piece of a past my friend has already moved on from. It's awful how many people he hurt, like that other girl, Ellie. My friend sees people. He and his little girlfriend only ever saw game pieces. I heard she's actually helping that other woman he used, showing a grace they never showed her. That's my friend. That is her character. This isn't about giving them a second chance. It's about her integrity. She's choosing to be everything that they are not. She's on the factory floor, actually talking to the employees. He only cared about spreadsheets. She's saving the company he almost killed. Even after all that, he made one last pathetic attempt to hurt her. He called it leverage. I call it what it is, pure cowardice. Her answer was perfect. A hard no. Not a threat, just a fact. It was more mercy than he ever deserved. She completely cornered him, nowhere left to run. It was over. That other woman was just collateral damage in his spectacular failure. And just like that, he signed his life away. 3 years, gone. The other woman had nothing left. She'd already been erased by his greed. I was watching her interview, just floored. She turned his betrayal into her comeback story. He wasn't her heartbreak. He was just her beginning. She talked about him so calmly, a flawed member of the family. The world saw a powerhouse. I saw my friend taking her power back. I know her dad must be so proud. While everyone praises her, I get to watch her family finally start to heal, all because of her. Her mom is coming home. My friend is literally rebuilding her family from the ashes. With him gone, they can finally clear out the wreckage. Every time the company's stock goes up, it feels like a victory. It's a reminder of the future he tried to burn down, the one she's building. At the groundbreaking, she was just invincible. Speaking of a future he tried to poison, she's doing it all herself, and he's not even a memory. I heard that woman actually tried to approach her, a last desperate move. I can just picture my friend, all cool professionalism, handling it. The lie about a baby, that was truly his most disgusting move, using the idea of family as a weapon because he could never build one. My friend offered zero pity, just the cold, hard letter of the law. To her, he and that woman were just two parts of the same problem. While she's running an empire, his little accomplice is in some cheap apartment. The silence is the only thing he ever leaves behind. He used to tell people my friend was cold. It was the story he told himself to justify cheating, and that woman wanted so badly to believe it. He played the poor victim, trapped in a loveless marriage. He sold that girl a fairy tale, and she was foolish enough to think it was for her. She wanted my friend's name, but she never got that you have to earn it. She tried to take it, and it just fell apart in her hands. So, the trial starts tomorrow. The news confirmed it. Their names will be everywhere. But my friend will rise so far above their mess. The world sees a leader when they look at her. They see the other woman as the fool she chose to be. It's called character. They have none. My friend is going home to her family. That other woman is sitting alone in the dark. That's what happens when you make those choices. She's driving to the hospital to see her mom. Her family is coming back together. The other woman is just driving down a road to nowhere. It's so good to see her family starting to heal. I can only imagine the shame that girl brought on her own parents. Some damage can't be undone. She is finally getting the truth from her mother. The other one is stuck with all the lies he used to turn her into his little weapon. This was never just about business. It was his twisted way of getting back at her family's history. He just used that woman to do it. A bad choice broke her family years ago. And that woman, blinded by what she wanted, just repeated the same stupid mistake. My friend is building her whole future on truth. The one that girl tried to build on lies led her to a dead end, a silent, empty life. Going through this hell has made her into someone unbelievably strong. The people who hurt her just seem so empty and small now. She should be planning a party, not fighting a war. I just sit here feeling helpless, wishing I could fight this battle for her. The suit she wears to court is like armor. For her, this is a fight for what's right. For me, it hurts just to watch her go through it. I saw her in that courtroom, and I felt this cold rage. He was just sitting there, that snake, and all I could do was watch her suffer. Then I heard her uncle's name on the news. Victor. He was the one behind her pain. The betrayal came from inside her own family. I felt sick. Those lawyers were like vultures, questioning everything about her. I swear I held my breath, watching my friend talk about the man who broke her. No, she said, her voice like ice. She explained how Julian used that girl just to get to her. His weakness put her through all of this. I heard her voice crack when she mentioned her mom's medical records. They crossed a line. It was sacred. I felt a rage I can't describe. Listening to them talk about his control was pathetic, the whine of a weak man. My friend was dealing with a child, not a husband. When they had the nerve to ask if she was angry, I nearly scoffed. They didn't just break up her marriage. They tried to break her. They actually accused her of revenge. No, she acts with purpose, not pettiness. He was the one who was always driven by spite. It was agonizing to watch her stand there, laying out facts and contracts while they just threw garbage at her. She was an absolute pillar of strength. She described his betrayal with this terrifying calm, calling the other woman a pawn, which was exactly right. He just used that girl to gut my friend. The lie that she was part of it was just vile. He was trying to poison her to make her as dirty as he was. I was shaking with rage. Then came those fake photos. That's when I saw he wasn't just cruel, he was genuinely evil, trying to bury her under his lies. I just kept praying they could prove he faked them. When that picture came up in court, the air just went out of the room. It was designed to destroy her. That is not me. Her voice was so clear, so true in that poisonous room. But the look on his lawyer's face told me this nightmare was far from over. Her fingerprints. You could feel the collective gasp in the courtroom. I saw the absolute shock on her face as his perfect, vicious trap snapped shut. I just watched her, completely gutted, as her brilliant mind went to war, tearing apart every lie he must have built to frame her. It was a tiny thing. Her ears weren't pierced. But in that instant, I saw the light come back on, her spirit finding a crack in his darkness. And then he got up there and admitted it. He had the nerve to look at her, and I honestly think I could have torn him limb from limb. He called her strong right before he tried to burn her entire life to the ground. Then he aimed his poison at her family, using her dad's past against her. A past affair. A son she never knew about. He detonated an atom bomb in their family, using her father's own history as the fuse. The courtroom went insane. I watched my best friend's whole world implode on national television, and that monster had handed him the trigger. The cameras were on her like vultures. I couldn't watch anymore. I just turned it off. The silence in my apartment felt heavy, suffocating. Her father's past gave that monster the ammunition he needed. A private failure became her public execution. It was unforgivable. I can't even imagine getting that phone call finding out your dad isn't who you thought he was. I knew her father had a heavy price to pay. It was a mistake. I've heard those words before. They're never just mistakes. They're choices. And that choice had finally come to collect. I heard the first thing she asked about was her mom. In the middle of her own world ending, she was worried about her family. My heart just broke for her. Another woman's name just dragged into this awful tragedy. It was a ghost from a past her father had made. It was just an ever-expanding circle of pain. Turns out there was no son. It was just one more lie from a man made of them. But she was the one solid truth in the middle of his hurricane of deceit. People say everyone makes mistakes, but that's just an excuse. My friend stood tall through that hellfire, proving some things are just choices. His smug face was plastered everywhere. Meanwhile, she was the one left to clean up the mess and fight the monsters he had created. When that woman, Marta, got on the stand, I just saw another victim, another life he and his toxic family had chewed up and spit out. Her testimony finished him. An old sin of his father's, a new betrayal of his. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was a pattern, a sick legacy. I watched her give her public statement, and she was pure class. He had told that other woman my friend was nothing. She knew her own worth. When he was found guilty, it didn't feel like a win. It just felt quiet. The real sentence had been handed down to their family years ago. 25 years. It's just a number. It couldn't possibly measure the wreckage he left behind. His story was done, but theirs was just starting to rebuild. She called it a family tragedy, and she was right. She always sees the bigger picture, the whole painful truth. It's one of the things I admire most. Their family started to put the pieces back together with the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I knew her dad had a long way to go to earn back her trust. That other woman was never the real problem. She was just a symptom. My friend wasn't fighting an affair. She was fighting generations of rot. Forgiveness is a long journey. I think she might get there with him someday, but I knew her father would have to work hard to earn his. She and her mom found so much strength in each other. I just tried to be there for her, to be the constant she needed and deserved. Seeing her take over as CEO, my God, she didn't just survive, she turned her pain into power. He promised her the world. She went out and built her own. Ethics, responsibility. For her, it wasn't just corporate jargon. It was a promise. She was building something clean out of the mess he made. The company's value skyrocketed. They called her a genius. To me, she was just my friend, and my heart was so full of pride it hurt. I was with her when she signed the divorce papers. He sent some pathetic apology. Her family got nothing. It was a clean break, finally. The news about his brother felt like his darkness was still trying to reach for her. I just prayed she would be free of the chaos he made. His company going under wasn't a tragedy. It was justice. My friend was caught in the blast zone of his war, but she refused to be a victim. Having her over for dinner again, just sitting at the table, felt like the world was starting to right itself. He left a hole, but we were all there to fill it. She brought me flowers the other day. It felt like the first real sign of spring after the longest, most brutal winter. It was more than enough. Her dad started cooking for her mom again. These simple, quiet gestures of love. The kind of steady devotion that monster would never understand. The peace in her parents' home was something he could never have bought. He gave her things. Her family gave her a place to land. 35 years together taught her parents that real love can survive anything. His love was a cheap illusion that vanished in the light. I heard her laugh the other day, a real from-the-gut laugh. It had been at least a year. That sound was a victory. It was the sound of her coming home. The women in her family are absolute warriors. Her mom, they have this quiet power that cheap, ugly ambition could never touch. I cracked a tiny joke about her future, and she gave me this fragile, hesitant smile. She deserved a life that wasn't defined by his mistake. When his company finally tanked, it was just another headline to the world. The end of an empire built by an empty man. We all knew it was coming. We heard he actually called her from a ledge. The absolute audacity to try and drag her back into his pathetic soap opera one last time. My anger felt like ice. It was his final selfish performance. He wasn't crying for the family he destroyed, but for the life and status he was losing. "Take care of yourself," was all she said before hanging up. In that one quiet click, she took her whole life back. I had never been prouder of her. She was at her desk the next morning leading her team. He had officially become nothing more than a footnote in the incredible story she was still writing. Hiring away his best people was a masterstroke. It wasn't revenge, it was a clean surgical strike, cutting out the cancer to save the body. I remember him being gone while she was so sick. He chose his affair over her. That's a kind of betrayal I'll never forget watching her endure. She launched a foundation, turning her deepest pain into a public purpose. All he ever knew was how to break things. My friend builds worlds. Her calm, unwavering voice is her superpower. She earned all of her power. He just stole his and then lost it all. Her memo called the company a family. He didn't just betray her, he betrayed all of them. Now he's an outcast, forever looking in from the cold. A letter from some woman named Julian showed up. Another ghost from his disastrous life trying to haunt my friend. My first instinct was to burn it. She chose not to press charges. It wasn't forgiveness. It was the ultimate power move, telling him he was no longer worth her time or energy. I see her taking on new challenges, completely focused on the future. He can fight his ghosts. She has a world to run. That relentless focus of hers is something I've always admired. It's the part of her soul that he could never touch, let alone break. He was a security breach in her well-ordered life, a fatal flaw. Now the walls are higher, stronger, and she is finally safe. Her world is moving forward, picking up speed and light. He's just trapped in the wreckage he made, which feels like the most fitting punishment. When her dad retired, I imagined their family dinners. The profound peace they must feel, knowing his chair at the table will always be empty. Her mother spoke about loyalty and a lifetime of trust. The simple, beautiful things he threw away are the only things that actually matter in the end. He lost the right to be her comfort. That job now belongs to us, the friends and family who never ever left her side. When I saw the headline naming her chairman, I felt this overwhelming wave of pride. Her victory was the final word in their story. The second I heard about an attack, my heart seized, thinking only of her safety. A best friend's heart only has one true north. She has always been the calm at the center of any storm. He was never anything more than a nasty passing squall. She only moves forward. Every single success she has is a quiet verdict on the man who chose to live in his past mistakes. Her family is her safe harbor, a home-cooked meal, unending support, the simple treasures he was too much of a fool to appreciate. The whole world talks about her resilience. She took the wounds he gave her and forged them into impenetrable armor. I read her public statements with so much admiration. She leads with an integrity he could never understand. He's a broken man. She is anything but. She promised to be a guardian. It was a painful echo of the vows he made to her, and then shattered like they were nothing. Their next family photo will be whole again, a beautiful image of strength, finally cleansed of his catastrophic mistake. There's a new man in her life, a good, decent man. After all this time, she deserves someone who knows how to build, not just burn everything to the ground. This man protects. He rebuilds. His very presence is a quiet rebuke to the man who only knew how to destroy his own life. His name is Orion. He sees her for the powerful, incredible woman she is. He is the partner she has always, always deserved. He brings a sense of honor and calm with him. It's such a welcome piece after the cheap, pathetic drama her ex-husband created. She hired him, a sound business decision. She's rebuilding her world on a foundation of trust. It's a language her ex has completely forgotten how to speak. Her family, her friends. We will always be her greatest defense. He chose to become a ghost, haunting a life he was never worthy of in the first place. She is writing her own story now, taking back her own truth. And I know my part in it. I was the friend who held the flashlight in the dark until she found her own light. In this new chapter, she is a queen forged in the very fire he started. He's just the man left in the embers, and I was the friend who walked through that fire with her.